If anybody has an idea of a different way of trying to coerce the crowd into screaming, let me know.
We need a catchphrase here.
We need a new catchphrase.
Well, as long as you're not saying "scream for me" and then saying the city. I mean, that's Bruce Dickinson. Right. As long as nobody does that, we're all okay, I think.
Right. Scream from it, Long Beach.
It's episode number 21 of Innersleeve here on SoundMojo. I'm your host, Cassius Morris. We have the oligarch king himself, the one and only Joe Pacheco, all the way in Quebec, the kingpin of SoundMojo, and the one and only Frank Pavan joining us also. Gentlemen.
Jesus.
I had to do a surprise, a big Seriously, intro for you guys.
Thank you.
No small potatoes over here.
Exactly. You get me every time, man. Every time.
What's going on with you guys? I know we have a really big interview this week. I'm personally really excited about this episode.
Yeah, man. No, Myles was a huge get. I know we were all giddy about it when it was confirmed. Happy to see it come, and it's all put together now. Thank you, Joe. No, but honestly, first takeaways, and I'm sure the viewers will learn this immediately, is that you guys hit it off. You became best friends. You guys just
He's a cool guy.
Such a killer relationship right off the bat. It was crazy.
And it's funny because I edit the video, right? So there's no 17 minutes of footage before. There's no 17 minutes of footage after. It's literally, you see Cassius come in and it's he joins. Hey man, what's happening? And it was holy cow, yeah, it's true. They just sound like they're best friends.
Yeah.
It's always a good time when you can have that with a guest because, if ever, and we've been so lucky on this show, I've never had a guest where it feels like this, but if it ever feels like pulling teeth or you're trying to coerce someone into wanting to talk with you, it never feels right. With Myles, it's cool because it seems like if he's going to do an interview, he's going to give you the time of day and chat with you. And it's funny, I even brought this up with him too. He's so opposite from his on-stage persona. When you see him on stage, you think oh, this guy, you can't look this guy in the eye when he's in the catering room and stuff. No, not at all. He was the complete opposite of that, which I don't know if that was a surprise for anyone else.
Kind of not, man. It's more and more you realize that they're just human like everyone else, right? They put on their pants the same way, all that stuff. So it's refreshing to see. And one of the notes I put down was the fact that he said, you were saying about some guys have that 24/7 persona of a rock star, and we know who they are, and they're great,
exactly.
That's what they are. But him, it was so interesting that he said it's not even just turning it off; it's actually turning it on. In the
turning
show.
It on is the hard part for him.
Yeah, but then it's well, you think about it, dude. It's at the same time, when you have hundreds of thousands of fans, hundreds or thousands of fans screaming at you, it's that turning on switch. It's not really that far.
They're helping you with that on.
It's even just as a fan in the audience, you already get goosebumps when everybody starts screaming. So as an artist, that switch is right there.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. I enjoyed listening to him talk about he made it very obvious that singers, songwriters are very vulnerable. When they're producing their work, he's very engaged and passionate. And everyone thinks of him as the killer vocalist, which he is. I'm not taking that away from him, but guitar is his first love.
Exactly, yeah. which was interesting to hear him talk about that too, and I think a couple other instruments in the mix as well. And it's a lot of these guys. It seems like they start on a path that's just getting into the field that they're in, and then a lot of the times it ends up being a bit different from what they pictured. But everything happening for a reason, which that always fascinates me with stories like this.
Well, it's not uncommon to hear because Van Halen brothers switched instruments, right? When one started on drums, one started on the guitar. Same thing with many guitar player turned singers. It's because they can't find a singer or they just haven't found the right guy. You know what I mean? So they're in a situation where they're forced. Hey, we need a singer. Last minute, and it's holy dude, you sound great, man. And then that's how it starts, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So lots that we covered in this interview with Myles. I know you guys are about to enjoy it, and make sure to go check out the new record by Myles Kennedy, The Ides of March. It's coming out on May 14th, and between you guys and me, fantastic record. We got the chance to hear it over at SoundMojo, and you guys are not going to be disappointed. So without further ado, here's our conversation with the one and only Myles Kennedy.
Sometimes you gotta let go and just open your mind. Just take it.
So Myles Kennedy, thank you so much for joining me once again. You know, it's an exciting time for you, I think, because you have your second solo record coming out, which is incredible, by the way. You know, I'm curious with you, what's it like for you doing a project like this? Because you're involved in so many different groups that are wildly successful. You guys have a great legacy and reputation. Is there a level of one-upping yourself when you go into a process like this, or is that not even in your mind?
Yeah, you're always trying to raise the bar to some degree. You know, it's like, it's exciting. Sometimes it's a bit of it's a bit overwhelming, especially if you're coming off something that you're really proud of and you know people have enjoyed. Yeah. And it's funny, I was just thinking about it earlier today. You know, things have been going really well on doing a fair amount of press for this record, and people seem to really be they're enjoying it, and they're saying good things. And on one hand, you're like, oh, well, that's nice, and it means a lot. And then on the other hand, you're like, oh, no. Then you start thinking about the future and like, oh, I have to try and top this, right? Next record, you know, and that always, you know, it's always kind of there. But one thing I've learned over the years of just doing this over and over and writing hundreds of songs, I guess I'm at thousands at this point, really, as far if you include all the songs that have never been recorded, is that, you know, you really just have to learn to stay very present in the moment, and anything, any sort of exterior, I guess that would come into the fold and have any sort of effect on what you're doing at that moment. You learn to kind of harness that and lock it away, because otherwise what will happen is it'll be you know, you kind of feel I don't feel like you can really tap into the song that way. You can't really tap into the moment. And so it's just through doing it over and over and over and over again, you learn how to just stay more in the moment and hopefully create something that's compelling.
That makes sense. Just sheer repetition and practice. Yeah. And also, I mean, I guess you would get better at wearing your different hats in each project, so to speak. I mean, even though there's vocals in all the projects, I'm sure it's a different feeling in the role maybe for each group. I don't know if that's fair to say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they're all very different animals, which is good because it keeps it from becoming redundant for me. It's like, you know, with Alter Bridge, I'm playing guitar and singing, but I have an awesome partner in that realm, as I do with Slash the Conspirators in terms of the songwriting. It's a collaboration like Alter Bridge, and then stepping into the solo world, it's ultimately on my shoulders as far as all the songs go, all the guitars. So, you know, they're different, and they're also stylistically different. So it's a really awesome situation for a guy like me who, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm still just nuts about writing songs. I love writing songs. It's probably what makes me happiest. And so I have all these outlets, and I don't take that for granted.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And, you know, it must provide such a feeling of freedom when you're making the record. Because one thing you said was really important for you was getting back to more of your guitar roots with this project.
Correct. Yeah, that was paramount for me. I think that since I started as a guitar player, and I was just a total guitar nerd, and somehow as time has gone on, I've become known more as a singer, which is wonderful. But I never intended to be a singer. I was always kind of shy, and still am. I'm not that guy, you know, showbiz, you know, I'm the singer, look at me.
You don't have lead singer disease.
Well, yeah, it's just not in my DNA, you know. But with that said, I do like lead singers who have a bit of that, because I feel like it's fun to watch, right? There's that character thing, and that's part of what makes them great front people. But I've always considered myself more of a songwriter than kind of the lead singer guy. But I feel grateful that I have a voice that helps me facilitate songs, and that's where it's a good thing.
For sure. Have you ever struggled with that, sort of being known primarily as a singer? And like, because I know that you're aware of it. Was that something that you struggled with at any point?
I mean, I guess it was something I had to get used to. It was kind of weird for me, like, there were periods where people didn't even realize I played guitar. And so that was a new dynamic.
Right.
And in a way I kind of felt naked without the guitar. It was such a huge extension of who I was. So when I first started playing with Alter Bridge, on the first record, I didn't play guitar. And when I first started touring with Slash, actually I take that back. There was a little bit of guitar in the mix there, but I was primarily like, the front man. And in that world, I've learned to adapt and I actually now enjoy it. I actually really like stepping into that realm and putting on that hat. And that's a wonderful time. But, yeah, it was weird at first. It was really strange. I mean, I literally felt I might as well have just gone up there with my, completely naked.
That's how weird it felt to you.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, you can watch some of those. In fact, if you watch the very first video Alter Bridge ever did, I mean, I can't watch it, not because of anything like the director did a great job. Everybody involved did a great job, but I was just so unaccustomed to not having a guitar. And you can see it. Like, I didn't know what to do with my hand. I didn't even know I was overdoing it with my facial expressions. I mean, it's just someone learning.
For sure. Somebody learning, right? And taking that curve.
Right. Somebody learning on a big budget rock video, so it's just like, I remember the first time I saw the video and I was like, well, everybody else did a good job, but I don't think I can't watch this because I can't look at me. I can't see this. I can't unsee this, frankly.
Can't unsee it.
Yeah, right.
Was that one of the things that helped you though? Because I mean, playing instruments, you mentioned sort of the shyness element. Did you get over it just by doing it again and again and again?
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Sheer repetition.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in the 10,000 hour rule. There's a book called Outliers, which highlights that whole concept. And yeah, just through night after night after night of getting up there, and it's trial by fire. It really is. Cause it was a unique situation because it wasn't like I was strictly from the front man standpoint. I was put in these situations where the brands were already kind of established because of the people I was playing with. So people were already coming to the shows. There were pretty large amounts of people coming to the shows. And so I had to learn how to become that entity, not in some empty club night after night,
right,
but in front of thousands of people night after night. So it was really interesting period there for a number of years. And I'm glad I went through it. I think it helped me evolve.
Do you think you learn faster that way because you have to, in a sense, because there's really less room for, I guess, mistakes of a certain level when you have a certain level of crowd?
Yeah. You know what it is? It was being thrown in the deep end of the pool and learning how to swim.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. So, it was one of those things where, bro, you better learn how to do it and learn how to do it quick.
You better learn it good. Yeah, quick too.
Yeah, learn it good.
You mentioned that like you don't have that lead singer arrogance, or I guess there's tons of different terms for it. But when you're on stage, you have such a commanding presence, and it's a strong presence. Like if you didn't know you may think that you sort of have a lead singer persona, which is a compliment because you own the stage so well. So is it hard for you to go up there, own the stage, be the man, and then turn that off?
Sometimes it is. I mean, sometimes, well, it's not turning it off that's hard. That's the easy part. For me, it's the turning it on. So it's the idea. Yeah, that's the tricks. That's probably the hardest part. It's not turning it off. It's okay. Now I've got to engage that switch to essentially own the stage for the next 2 hours. And sometimes there are people who are hardwired. That's just the way they are 24/7. They're that guy off stage as well. Great. They don't have to, kind of prepare for that. That's just who they are. For me, yeah, it really is. There's a certain psychological element, and there's that switch that I have to find the strength to turn on, no matter how I'm feeling or where I am in my head, because people want to show. They don't. I saw a really great. I love documentaries, rock documentaries, and there was something I saw years ago, and I was a UK writer, and he was talking about I think he might have been talking about Bruce Dickinson and his ability to command a stage. And he said something that really stuck with me. He goes, people don't pay to see the humble bumble, I think is how he said it.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, right. They're not, especially in rock and roll, they're not interested in seeing the guy staring at his shoes. Aw, shucks, thanks for coming.
Right.
They want that experience, that larger than life experience. And that was good for me to hear. I was like, because he's right. If you're in a venue, let's say you're in an arena and the guy way up in the back row, you've got to play to him.
You got to reach that guy.
Yeah, you got to reach that guy through your move. And so much of it is about your movement. It's about how you use your hands, what you say, getting the crowd to sing along or put their hands up in the air. And even though I did struggle, honestly, with some of that, you can step into kind of the cliches. And I, as somebody who has tried to avoid cliches for a good part of his career, there are some of those cliches that are just such a part of the experience where you have to embrace some of it. And
what types?
I think some of the, get your hands in the air.
Right. Make some effing noise.
Make some noise. Let me hear you scream, and sometimes I'll be straight up. I will do that one in particular. I want to hear you screaming. And once in a while I find myself just going, ugh.
Really?
Yeah. And so I'm trying to I got to figure, if anybody has an idea of a different way of trying to coerce the crowd into screaming, let me know.
We need a catchphrase here.
We need a new catchphrase.
Well, as long as you're not saying "scream for me" and then saying the city. I mean, that's Bruce Dickinson. Right. As long as nobody does that, we're all okay, I think.
Right. Scream from Long Beach.
That's a quintessential. I mean, you can't,
exactly. You can't go there.
No, you really can't. So how many songs on the new record are you playing lead on? Is it every song?
Yeah, every song,
wow.
all the guitars I did on this record and the last solo record. These solo records really are just an excuse for me to play guitar.
Hey man, that's cool. We enjoy that too.
Thank you. No, I love it. The guitar is like I said, it's my security blanket. So getting to expand and step into these into that role to that degree on each of these records is really musically rewarding for me.
Definitely. I hear something really interesting in your music on this project. It's like a vulnerability, but it seems to be a vulnerability that, and tell me if I'm wrong, that you sort of had to bring from inside of you, because it doesn't sound like it's necessarily easy for you to say some of these words, but it sounds like it's important for you to say them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's well put. I think that, as an artist, part of your challenge and job is to maintain a certain amount of vulnerability and be transparent with your emotions. At least I find a lot of the artists that I like have that ability. And so it's something that I've integrated into my own approach. And though it's not always easy to explore some of the things that you explore as a songwriter, it's necessary. And the payoff is, if you find a way to do that and you're genuine about it, you then experience the listener expressing how it moves them and what it means in their life. And I think that that's the payoff. If you take that risk and you dig deep inside and you essentially regurgitate these intimate feelings or insecurities or fears or whatever it is, the payoff is when you realize that is then reflected back through the fans.
Right. It's a give and take.
It's a give and take. It's that rapport. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that must be a really special feeling though, when you start to get those comments, emails, etc.
It is. It is great. And for me, I guess because I'm careful when as far as online goes, is how deep into the comments and all of that I go. Just because it's the Wild West, essentially. You never know what kind of landmine you're gonna open up there. So I tend to shy away from that. But it's in the live context when you're playing or when you meet people after the show,
right?
Hanging out by the bus or whatever, and people tell you the story of how the song affected them, and that's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
absolutely. The title of the record, the Ides of March. What made you go with that title?
I felt like it really it felt that it had a certain amount of weight to it. I was on a walk with my wife. I think it was last March, over a year ago, and I thought the Ides of March seems appropriate because it seems like a prophetic warning of the dark possibilities of what could come. And there were so many uncertainties at that point, you know, with the lockdown and all. We didn't know where things were going, and so it was the idea of being aware of where things might go, and I felt like it was appropriate. So it was a long process putting that song together. I think it took about 6 months.
Wow.
chasing that one down. Yeah, some songs came very quick. Others they elude you, and you have to put in the time and throw multiple parts at it until you finally complete it. And so when it was all said and done, I was content, but it was a journey, that's for sure.
That's crazy because, I mean, it's such a just speaking on the title track, such a multifaceted song. Was this the track that the genesis of really the idea came to you in a dream?
Yeah, that's the one. It's I was dreaming, and I was just kind of waking up, and I kept hearing "We'll just be on the blue horizon." I didn't have that lyric, but it was the da 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 da, and I heard the chords, and I was like, okay, I really just want to hang out in bed here and stare at the ceiling for the next half hour, but I'm gonna get up, and we're gonna document this.
Nice. That's thank God you did.
Yeah, I'm grateful I did too, and so. But once I had that, and I think then in that sitting, I came up with the "Please don't." I then was able to find that part during that little experiment. But the rest of it, yeah, it took time. It was just a matter of throwing different parts at it and trying to mold it until it was done.
That's so crazy, and you guys drove a long way to get to Orlando in order to record with you guys' longtime producer, Elvis, aka Michael Baskette. Why was it so important for you to do this with him sort of at the helm of that?
Because I trust him, and I do genuinely, I have so much respect for him, and he's a dear friend. So, and with everyone, with Tim and Zia and everybody involved, and Elvis's crew, Jeff and everybody is just top notch. And it was just one of those things where I knew that if we were all going to be quarantined together, that's who I wanted to be quarantined with and make this record.
And it must have been nice to sort of do that little road trip too. I mean, especially with everything going on, might have been a bit of an escape also. It
was good to get, at that point I'd been in the house and hadn't really left much for about 6 months. So getting in a rental SUV with Zia and Tim and driving, 3 days across the country was a nice respite from the solitary confinement.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Good timing.
Great. Yeah, it was great. We had a lot of fun. Drove across the country and saw all sorts of fun sights. Well, not really, but just the
cool
highway,
enough.
Truck stops along America. It was great.
Yeah, it'll fill a week, fill a couple days at least for sure.
Exactly.
You mentioned Slash off the top, and I've had the chance to see you live with Slash a number of times, and some of the best live shows I've ever seen. And really what I think a big part of it is the give and take between you and Slash. I mean, the mutual respect that you see on stage is you guys let each other shine. I'm just wondering, talk to me about getting to that place with Slash, because it seems like a very unique relationship.
Yeah, it is a cool thing, and it's nice to hear that. I think that he's such a incredible talent. There's a reason he's an icon. It's like you can hear if you have a blindfold on and you turn a recording on, in 2 notes.
Exactly.
Or if you step in a room with him and you have the blindfold on, he's got that signature thing. So I guess it's kind of it's that front man lead guitar equation that's been around. It's been utilized. That approach has been utilized for a long time, and fortunately, it seems to work with the two of us. But I also really do believe that it's the band as well. I feel like that whole band is really it's a special cast of characters.
It is.
Todd Kearns he's a great bass player, but like his vocals bring so much. Like his background vocals is such a huge part of that sound. And Brent's the way he plays the drums, the way he feels 2 and 4 is massive. I mean, it's just like he's got that push and pull thing that like it's not. He understands that reckless abandon that works really well with the way Slash plays. It keeps it super exciting and kind of like unhinged in a good way. And then Frank Sidoris is just, because I have, both in my in-ears, I have Slash in my one in-ear and then Frank in my other. And so as a guitar player, I'm always kind of listening to what's going on. And Frank he's a machine, man. I mean, the guy is just spot on, and he's all of them. They're great human beings. So it's a fun camp for sure.
Yeah, man, super special group. I mean, definitely really excited to see what you guys have coming in the future, as well as your other projects. Just to wrap up, I have 2 topical questions real quick. The first one is, and the reason I asked this is because they just announced the Kiss biopic that should be coming to Netflix pretty soon. I'm curious, if there's a biopic about you, who do you think would play Myles Kennedy in the biopic?
That's a really hard question. I have no idea.
Maybe one to think on.
One to think on. Macaulay Culkins. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, get a wig on him. It'll be perfect, I think. Change the hair color. And of course, the last one here at Watch Mojo, we're well known for our top 10 lists and top 20 lists. We have a list of the top 20 most intelligent animals, as I know you really care about animals and helping for awareness about them. Any guesses on who's the number 1 most intelligent animal on Earth?
I'm gonna guess. Is it the octopus or is it an elephant?
Oh, two great guesses. Number 1 was great apes.
Really?
Which actually surprised me too, but I think they only have the edge because of their opposable hands with the tools. But number 2 was bottlenose dolphins. 3 was elephants. So
all right, okay, all right, cool.
There we go. So yeah, just wanted to run those by you to switch it up a little bit. But Myles, I really thank you for your time, and I absolutely love what you do. And just want to remind everybody to go get the record on May 14th. It's coming out via Napalm Records, and it's called The Ides of March. Anything you can tell the people finishing up and leading off to the record?
No, man, I just appreciate you all taking the time to check this out and check out the record if you can. I'm very, very happy with it. And hopefully the world will, get back to some semblance of normal. We can get out there and tour and play some music soon. Definitely. Anything coming with Alter Bridge or Slash in the future? We're just kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to see what happens. Lots of like in the Slash camp, we've got lots of tunes in the can, so we're excited about that. But we just have to wait till the world, till bands that play, those bigger venues and whatnot we can go out and do it safely and all that stuff. So yeah, fingers crossed. Awesome, can't wait. Myles, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I just appreciate it. Take care. All right, you too. Good times with Myles Kennedy. I'm in a good mood having just watched that back, actually. I mean, just a really solid guy. Solid. Seems so sweet. Very laid, down to earth, laid back. Very genuine dude. Very generous with his time, obviously. Yeah, you killed it. You hit it out of the park, Asher. So hope everyone enjoyed that interview with, like you said, the one and only Myles Kennedy. No doubt. Definitely a supreme talent, and we hope to have him back one day on the show as well. Each episode we like to hop into different topics and keep it current with everything that's going on in the forefront of our industry. And a couple episodes back, we touched on a very sad topic, of course, the anniversary of the death of Kurt Cobain. If you don't know him, I don't even know how you're on a music show, but the founding member of Nirvana. And now some crazy developments have just happened. I know you guys are aware of this, Joe and Frank. They've actually reopening the Kurt Cobain case because they are not satisfied that it's a suicide. Is that what I'm getting here? From what I looked quickly,
there's been many letters sent over the years to the FBI about considering it a murder investigation and not a suicide investigation. Honestly, I never looked further. I just you just take for granted that, okay, that's what they said. It's a suicide or not. But I haven't taken a deep dive into this yet. This just came across my feed today, so I was like, let's talk about this. It seems interesting.
What's most interesting?
Go ahead, Frank.
I was gonna say what's most interesting is that it's high level people pushing the investigation. It's not just there's thousands of fans who want it to be done. It's people who actually have a bit of high reputation and power, perhaps in like the investigative field. So that's what's interesting about it.
That's it. Here it says someone, Norm Stamper, the former police chief of Seattle Police Department, is saying, if I would tell you right now, if I was a police chief, I would reopen this investigation.
That's pretty eerie, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, because it takes it out of the world of disgruntled fans. Because obviously when a music icon dies, the fans of that icon will often look for a scapegoat or reasons why the person's not dead or someone to blame. I mean, we see it with Tupac. People still think Tupac's alive in Cuba. But you're right, Frank. The fact that a former police chief and people like that are saying, no, there's something fishy here, that sort of leads me to think like they might have something. I hate to say these words, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, true. And I wonder what happens, right? Like we were speaking before the show, what happens? They have to find someone who did this, or how it happened?
Do you guys think it's almost too far back to be reopening, or do you feel like it's justified, Frank, to be reopening this now?
I'm trying to think of comparisons, like of old cases that were brought back and revisited.
Well, I think go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
No,
Sorry,
I was thinking. The one that comes to mind is that documentary on Netflix. They're making a murder.
Right.
That's based in Wisconsin, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So it was something that happened, and then an investigation was revisited, and then yada yada, a whole bunch of drama happened. But Joe, I wanted you to finish that point. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just thinking, like, if it's a murder, or if I'm the mom or the brother or someone like really close, you want it solved, right? You want to make sure beyond any doubt that it's a murder or a suicide. So I think if there's enough evidence or, to lead people to reopen it, I think it should be investigated. And now, if it's past the statute of limitations or anything, I don't know if that exists for murder. But
this is true too. Yeah.
Did he pass away in the state of Washington? Was that it? Was his house in Seattle or just outside?
I believe so, yeah.
A lot of weird stuff happened. Wasn't Ted Bundy involved in Washington?
Yeah, it says here he died April 5th, 1994 in his Seattle home.
Seattle, yeah. A lot of weird stuff coming out of Seattle. But
heavy, gloomy sort of region from what I tend to see sometimes.
yeah, for sure. No, this is such a huge topic, and I'm sure, no matter where your loyalty is in the music world, whether you're a hip hop person or heavy rock or whatever, like you hear the name Kurt Cobain and reinvestigating his alleged now, like if it was a murder or not, that's like pretty heavy stuff. Now the people claiming that this should be reinvestigated, you got to give me some heavy proof here. You got to be coming with some heavy stuff, because I'm not gonna be convinced with just a few news articles.
That's the thing, because it makes it such a different case. The fact that he was allegedly found with like a shotgun in his arms, like this goes past murder. This would be staging a suicide and also doing it with a worldwide celebrity. So I don't know. Obviously we don't wish anything bad on anyone. However, we definitely wish that if you do something like that, you are held accountable. So it's going to be interesting to see how this comes about. And speaking of. Sorry.
I was going to say, if anyone's listening this far into the show, fingers crossed. Leave a comment. What do you think about this? I mean, pretty polarizing figure. Pretty huge news to drop. What do you guys think about it? So that's what I have to say. But let's move on, Cassius.
No, definitely interested to see what our viewers think about this one too, because it is a divisive topic, sort of polarizing in some ways. And speaking of new developments in cases, it's quite odd that this has actually come up. We all know the New York rap prodigy, of course, of 50 Cent, Pop Smoke, was killed, unfortunately, once he moved into his mansion in Beverly Hills in L.A. Now, it turns out that Pop Smoke lost his life, allegedly, over a $2,000 Rolex that somebody was going to steal. Apparently, somebody saw a photo or a video of this Rolex and decided this is the time to strike against Pop Smoke. Now, apparently, the person who killed him and spearheaded this was 15 years old, and they split the profits of the Rolex, so they each only got $400. I mean, what a story.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Got
What do you guys think of that?
$400.
Well, if you think
Yeah,
about it,
apparently.
it's
So they
$2
took the
grand.
life of a rap star, not just a rap star, a human being, for
person.
$400 each.
I know. It's scary. Honestly, that's
It's scary, isn't it?
I don't have much to say, but it's freaking scary, man. Like when it's that simple or that easy for someone to make that decision, you know?
Do we have a retail price of this watch?
2,000 roughly.
Oh, $2,000?
Well, they
Wow.
ended up selling it for $2,000 after the fact, you know? So now I don't know here in the article what it says.
Oh,
if
gotcha.
it's-
Right.
But still, yeah. Still, regardless, whether it's worth $15,000 or $100,000, all they made was $400 each. So it doesn't matter what it was worth.
Yeah.
This is true. It's so crazy I think it's a sort of a telling sign of I don't know if it's a sign of the times or maybe just a sign of people's mindset over time, but people really seem to value these material possessions in such a way. What a lot of people don't realize, and I think most music insiders do know, is most of the people wearing these jewelries and chains don't own them. I mean, a lot of these record labels rent jewelry, they rent cars, they rent all these things to put on people to make everyone else feel like that's how they should live. So it's kind of sad to see people sucked into that, if you ask me.
Totally.
You wrapped it up pretty well, Cassius. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there's much left for us.
It's materialistic.
It's
world
hard
out
to
there.
add anything to it.
No, it's
now,
horrible. It's
Would you guys, let's say you're a rapper and you're out there and you're making 50 to 100 grand a show. Are you going to spend money on jewelry and stuff like that? Or are you going to buy replicas? Because a lot of rappers too, they'll buy a fake Rolex or a fake chain and people will think they can afford it.
It's interesting because I read an article a few years ago where it's indie artists or up and comers, guys that are starting out now, you know, and then, or even just for social media cred, you know, like where they're
Right.
taking pictures with like $20,000 of cash or $100,000 of cash piles behind them that their parents take a loan so you can get the picture and then they give it back. Like really, like wow,
It's ridiculous.
this is- you know, it's all for show, right? Like it's
To answer your question, Cassius, I mean, if you're making like 50 to 100 grand a show, like don't get the fake ones.
Right? That's
Go and
sort of
get
like
the real ones.
counterintuitive.
get the fake ones and
Don't get the fake ones. I mean, if you're making it that big, you can go and get the real ones. But to answer your question, what would I do? I don't. It's weird, right? It's a weird question to ask someone who's not rich and famous because
Right.
your mind goes through like a whirlpool once you hit that level of notoriety and wealth. Because then you could just start thinking of all these things that you can afford. So it's right now sitting here in my chair. No, I wouldn't consider myself to be like that uber or hyper materialistic consumer. But you know, everything changes, man, when you make money. Like you see it not only in music, you see it in sports, you see it in many different genres, industries. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a tough question to answer, but I understand why it's done.
I'm not into bling of any sort. Like I have nothing on me, earrings, nothing, none of that stuff. I've just never been into it. But, you know, guitars, cars, studio, you know, like I would, if I had that kind of money, I'd be into cars and property.
You'll
and stuff
find
like that.
something.
Yeah.
You'd get a nice GTR,
Oh, GTR, Porsche GT3.
Yeah,
those
you've been
numbers.
doing some shopping. Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, shopping, it's already there. Like if ever I won the lottery, I have a list of stuff that I have
Exactly.
to get in order, you know.
Joe's lottery wish list. Maybe that'll be the next segment.
We should make a Watch Mojo video titled "Top 10 Items that You'd Purchase if you were to win the lottery" or something like that.
That's pretty cool.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
I'm sure there would
you know
be
what's
like wow,
fascinating?
engagement on those comments would be crazy because everybody has their own version of that, what they would do, you know?
Yep.
Exactly. A whole new list. It's really cool what you said, Frank, too, because when you're asking someone before a situation, you're right, the answer is very different. I would almost be willing to say that maybe a lot of these artists or a lot of these singers or rappers, if we asked them the same question before they made it, they may not have thought that they'd be splurging as much as they are either. But you're right. Once you hit that transition, it almost affects, I think, the way your brain processes information in a way.
Yep.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I agree with it.
It's easy to, be on the outside looking in and saying, oh, I would do this or I wouldn't have done that. Even with famous young stars like Bieber, I had this conversation not long ago where even myself, guilty as charged, like was a Bieber hater just because like, not a Bieber hater, but like I'd be like, oh, if I saw something came up like, oh, Bieber did this or said this, I'd be like, teach that little guy some manners or some whatever. But then you realize, no, man, the kid's 15, 16, he's learning, as a human, and you're surrounded by a bunch of adults and everything is just being offered to you. Everything is possible for you. There's nothing that's like very difficult for you.
There's no hurdles.
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily blame the artist 100% of the way. It's the environment, it's everything combined together, I think,
Yeah.
That's a great point. I couldn't have said it better. And just real quick before we wrap up, I thought this was an interesting thing too, because maybe I'm a little biased. I'm a J. Cole fan, but J. Cole's got a new record coming out on Friday, and maybe as a publicity stunt, I'm not really sure. He's announced that he's actually going to be becoming a basketball player. He just took a flight to Rwanda. He's quarantined in Rwanda, and he's going to be playing African basketball. I mean, what are the odds?
Yeah, that's a good point you raise. If it's, I didn't think of it. I mean, I saw the headline, I saw the story, and I didn't think of it as like a publicity stunt necessarily, because that's a pretty huge commitment. Just by following J. Cole over the years, I think anyone who has followed him would pick up on the fact that he's a huge like basketball fan, and not only fan but player, like avid player. Like he plays a lot in recreational leagues and posts about it on social media. So this isn't like super. I mean, the location might come as a shock, but like him trying it out in a professional setting is not too much of a surprise, because like I've seen him ball. He's got some skills. And I think he even played at high school or in college as well. So like anyway, so that's not surprising to me. Rwanda, huge commitment, but in a way, it's like it's better for the league almost than him, because the league gets so much more visibility now with him there.
It doesn't say anything here that like maybe there's like why did he go play there for, like, or like is there like maybe is he donating something, or is it just exposure for Rwandan players? Because like in baseball, if you think about it, in baseball, what do we got? We got like either Canadian players, American players.
You mean basketball?
No, but baseball. I'm just saying like you have Cubans, right? A lot of Cuban pitchers, players, and then some Japanese ones, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Why wouldn't we have more, infiltrated players from other countries?
Well, see, that's the thing, actually, Joe. Like in the NBA, there's a lot of players who immigrate from Africa, and even like Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the league's best players, is from Greece. Like he.
There you go.
And so there's a huge amount of players flocking to in the United States. The other way around, though, not as common. But look, it's still like you said, like we don't know why yet. Maybe that news will surface, but I don't see it as a bad thing. I remember, man. Cassius, did you go to any of his concerts? Have you ever gone to one of his concerts?
I have. I got to see him twice, actually.
You see 2014 Forest Hills Drive?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool one, man. I saw him here in Montreal at the Bell Center, and what a set like he put on. Like I feel like he's one of the more underrated guys, honestly. Like he's never put on a show like some of the, not from an actual physical show. He's never like created the headlines or broke the headlines like some of the today's artists do or rappers do. But he's like such a underrated and just like super consistent type of dude in his music.
Yeah.
It's true. Everything he does is top tier, from the shows to the albums to the music videos. When I saw him for the first time, it was in a hailstorm in Calgary at One Love Music Fest, and literally a hailstorm, and he came out and rocked that place, and hey, we warmed up because he just rocked the house. And just definitely a very, very committed rapper. And actually, the last time I saw him was 3 years ago tomorrow, actually. So this cool little anniversary for that. You mentioned how his dues versus other rappers. J. Cole's dropping tomorrow. Drake is set to drop within the month. Who do you guys think could potentially have the biggest commercial appeal in terms of sales? Is it going to be Drake's season or J. Cole's season, do you think?
But I mean, it's kind of par for the course for J. Cole to play second fiddle, and not
You
that
almost
it's a
can
bad
never
thing.
expect him to win that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just always he's always been like highly respected by everyone, but never in that like top tier of most famous or most records sold or singles, numbers sold. I don't even know what the proper term is. What do you call that what is that? Downloads?
Yeah, streams, downloads, but you're
Streams,
saying
that's
it.
it.
Yeah.
So if you're if you're comparing Drake and J. Cole, I mean, we love J. Cole, but Drake's like, come on. I think
He
it'd
can't
out
be
of the
beat.
park
It's
for him.
almost like he can't be beat at this point.
No, I don't think so. But I'm looking forward to J. Cole's new music, though. I mean, I think everyone will be. It's just that Drake takes the he takes the cake and eats it too in these races. So
Wow.
that's it.
That's it. And I'm starting to think it's almost better for an artist if they don't have that level of success, because it's almost like imagine kids in the sandbox. Like if one kid's taking all the toys, the other kids aren't going to want to play with them as much. You know what I mean? Like J. Cole leaves a little bit for other people. He leaves it so people don't hate him that much, but he's also a king in his field. So you're right, Frank. I'd like to see him really keep coming up.
One
I think-
last thing. Sorry, Joe. I know I've been cutting you off the past 2 times here, but one last thing I want to see, Cassius, is a J. Cole 1v1 versus Adam Sandler. That's gotta.
Oh, and hoops. That would be good. I just saw a video of Sandler today, and he's constantly hooping. It's crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyways, go ahead, Joe.
I've always liked artists that have been able to just consistently put out, not necessarily be on the top of the charts, not necessarily be the biggest artist or the most sales, but like consistently, and then you have like this crazy career for your whole life. You know, like
Yeah.
like you're saying, so like, playing second fiddle to someone or whatever, but I mean at the same time, he's J. Cole, right? Everybody knows him by name, literally. So I just always found that interesting, even with like rock bands, when or pop artists, when they come onto the scene, they're huge, they blow up, right? Like Psy, right? I'm just talking about commercial, it just blew up, it was everywhere, right? And then all of a sudden it just dies, So I find it almost works against you if you blow up too fast or too soon or too much.
That's
Where
the
it's
thing.
like, you'll fade out and then, or, not even by your own, just happens. People just, like you said, get fed up of you and then like, that's it. So I'd rather be like, have a consistently long career than let's say like the best, most sales or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good point, man. If you have a committed audience,
Yeah.
regardless of the size, like, okay, obviously you need some type of size, but I'm saying once you've reached that level of fame and you don't need to be the biggest and best. I mean, you have your committed audience and you're good to go. As long as you keep producing music and staying true to yourself, bands are super successful that way.
That's it.
Exactly. Isn't there a rule that there's like you need like 1,000 fans in each city or something, Joe, that to make you successful?
Yeah, well, no, they're saying you don't need to have 1 million sales. You need to have 1,000 true fans. So 1,000 true fans is someone who will pay $10 for a CD at a show or $20 or buy a hoodie off you. So they'll spend like $100 a year on you consistently, watching shows, live streams, whatever it may be, just to support their favorite artist, buy a hat, so like that 1,000 true fans will sustain you. You can make a comfortable living just doing your music with those 1,000 true fans.
Easier said
Absolutely.
than done, but I think we could all understand that it's
Well,
true.
to make
As long as
1,000 true fans, you'd probably need 100,000 fans, right? If you think about it, like it's not everyone that's going
Right.
to buy everything.
of course.
So you still,
And
it's
think
not
about
easy.
it. And no, it's not easy. Nothing easy about it. And I mean, if you really break it down on a crazy level, like the guys we're talking about, Drake and J. Cole, they come to a stadium in a city that's 10 to 15, 17,000 people in the stadium. So technically, to be the king of a game, you only need 10 to 15,000 people in every major market. That's it sounds more doable than not. And I know that's why we're here to inspire, of course, indie artists, up and coming artists. I guess the point of this is to say, don't stop. You never know how many people might love what you're doing. And I'm pretty sure that's all we had to add for this episode, unless there's anything else you guys wanted to throw in.
Nah, I'm pretty good.
Subscribe, rate, comment. That's it.
Absolutely.
The boring blah 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 that you hear at the top and the bottom of each episode. Rate,
Yeah,
comment,
let me
subscribe.
start my
That's it.
blah blah blah. That's what I need to throw in here. We appreciate you guys checking us out. It was episode 21 of Inner Sleeve. Of course, hit that subscribe button, like Frank said. Joe's gonna be upset if you don't hit the subscribe. So one click is one smile for Joe. Joe, we want to keep you smiling. Am I right? So we definitely need that. Click that subscribe button and the notification bell. Follow us on all social media. We have all the links you guys need in the description below. Whether you're tuned in on video, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, you can really get us anywhere you want us and click that subscribe button. It's the same on every single platform. Thanks for tuning into this brand new episode of Inner Sleeve. We'll catch you guys next week back here on SoundMojo.